that hasn't gone full on Papega. Everyone else has been full on Papega. This is why I can't take you fuckers seriously. You're just cranky, bitchy conservacucks who can't fucking handle a woman's fucking bodily autonomy. You just shut up. You want to punish people for having sex too early. Go fuck yourself. Ugh. Ugh! The title did summon them. Isn't it great? I'm asking you a question. Why 12 weeks? Debate me, you lip cuck. Johnny, I already timed him out for like 30 minutes. He's probably very upset. He's very upset about being on Twitch. He's angry that people on Twitch are not as old and irresponsible as him. And that abortions are hip these days. Can you believe it? He's the type of guy who goes to strip clubs and tries to save the strippers. He sure does. I'm for choice. Personally, I'm pro-life. As soon as it is state-funded, it impacts everyone, though. Wait. Your problem is funding it? Not the moral Wait, what? So you're pro-choice, but when taxes are involved, then the moral questions are really fucking hot and heavy? Oh, for fuck's sake. Alright, we have another Papega in the chat, then. Maybe I'm misunderstanding this shit, man. It's like eating too much, get fat, and tell the state to pay for my fat removal surgery. It's everyone's right to eat too much, right? It's yours. Is it your responsibility for eating too much, or is it the society? Wait. Those two, okay. Why is it society's responsibility to give you an abortion? I don't get it. The person gets an abortion. Society doesn't get an abortion. Are you concerned of the amazingly high costs of an abortion compared to having a child and putting it into like what do you call it? You give your child up for adoption and then the state has to take care of the kid. You're telling me that is a lesser of a fucking problem for society than, say, a fucking doctor's appointment? I'm very confused. He's okay with murder, but only if he doesn't have to pay for it. Yeah, it doesn't fucking make sense. All you conserva ducks, jump on Twitter, give that thought a follow, then forget what you got on Twitter in the first place. Lizard, yes, please follow me on Twitter, guys. Making people pay for abortions is like making people pay for college. Amen. Come on now. Alright, I'm just gonna ignore people. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm just gonna do one of these. No, I'm not. I'm gonna let guys just continue for a second. Post-birth abortion. They're so fucking stupid. Find me a pro-lifer that's not a fucking idiot. I'll wait. Because holy shit. Give me one. Give me one. State funding for abortions is so wrong. They're irresponsible, but please, Papa State, lock up those criminals and let me pay you my tax dollars because they're irresponsible too. It's like so incredible. It's just stupid, conserva-cucky, like Bible thumpers. Like, I'm sorry, I don't care. It's not the cost, it's the moral hazard of taking money and not supporting personal choice. Taking money? Who's taking money? Do you know what taxes are? Do you know that taxes pay for things that you don't personally use oftentimes? Am I what? Just fucking move on. Again, every pro-lifer's Papega.
And Tom is still plugged in. Is it okay to remove him? Some people say, well, there's a difference between withdrawing treatment, like unplugging, and killing, like an abortion. But if your argument relies on this factual and moral distinction between killing versus letting die, then you are the one who needs to prove that distinction is there. Which isn't as easy as it sounds. It doesn't even sound all that easy. And even if you do it and you say, I support criminalizing abortion because it is killing as opposed to letting die, then that would mean that a pregnant person who starves themselves into stillbirth deliberately must be morally and legally okay. Which I'm guessing...
Taxes pay for school, roads, and public services we all benefit from. Oh my God. So you attend every school, drive on every road, and partake in every that your taxes are paying for. Wow, that's actually not possible. That's weird that you would propose something that's not possible in defense of pro-life Pepega logic. Color me shocked. Another disconnected pro-lifer? I never. I didn't drive on any roads last year. Why do I have to pay taxes?
Funny, you look like you're doing time. What's going on here?
Yeah, I'm decided to show people my fucking grit. I'm fucking gritty. Get over it. I'm not even gonna wait for you to get over it. I'm already over it. You're just like, who are you? He was a Slater boy. Buddy's taxes go towards meat industry subsidies. Yes, they do. This has to be a joke. No one can be this stupid. I know, man, but sadly you are.
Ben Shapiro doesn't want to say.
Moreover, what if Tom wasn't needed for a few hours, but a few years, or even the rest of his life? You might want to say, well, then unplugging would be okay, but if the life at stake is what matters, then that doesn't change, whether it's 9 months or 100 years. If you support state-forced pregnancy but think that Tom shouldn't be punished for unplugging after a certain point, then you've already agreed with the central claim of the pro-choice position, which is that bodily autonomy can take priority over a life. You're just haggling over who gets to draw the line and where.
What I like about Thompson's scenario is that it pushes us to that place of all or nothing. If you're Ben Shapiro, you have to agree with the arsonist and say that no matter how Tom came to be there, and no matter how much he suffers, a human life is at stake, and unplugging him should be criminal. If a woman or a trans person with a womb can be forced by the state to use her body to keep someone else alive, it must also be acceptable to force a man to do the same thing. But speaking of grotesque medical horror that pushes the boundaries of taste, here's Dennis Prager, behind Prager University, a YouTube channel dedicated to misinformation funded by petrochemical billionaires. In one of his famous fireside chats, old Denny says that when someone is pregnant, it's not just their body that needs to be considered.
Okay, one button dash. Are you a Ben Shapiro fan right now? Tell me right now. Are you a Ben Shapiro fan? Nah?
Okay, then why do you think that he needs to... Are you wondering if this man would debate Ben Shapiro in front of an audience? Explain to me why that's important to you. This guy's a perma-virgin? Find me one non-Pepega, Bible-thumping, conservative, cucky pro-lifer. Find me one. Just one. I just like seeing live debates. Okay, it's a very common thing for Ben Shapiro fans to show up and get angry at whoever's bashing their little senpai. And they're like, well, I wonder if you would even say this shit to Ben Shapiro's face. They say it to me too. They're like, you know what? I would love to see Ben Shapiro rip you apart and fucking, you wouldn't say this in front of him. You wouldn't last in a debate with him. I'm like, it's a really weird flex that you think your, like, buddy will fucking kill it in a debate. Like, okay. It's very, like, weird. Intentionally seeking out undergrads who are 19 and then overwhelming them with stupid claims like, why can't you be 60? That's what I thought. You can't be trans. It's pathetic. Yeah, what, like Ben Shapiro or Steven Crowder or... Love to see you twatted by Carl Benjamin. I feel like truth and debates are not the way to go. Debates are entertainment and propaganda. Yeah, it really triggers me when people think like the ultimate sign of like someone being correct is a debate.
sometimes, but no. Most of the time, no, it's not that.
He wonders why a baby outside someone's womb is assumed to have moral worth, but a fetus within apparently has none at all. After all, if somebody shoots a pregnant person, most people would say that's worse than shooting somebody who isn't. Even the predator.
For the record, this pro-lifer just said that taking a penis up your asshole is a good contraceptive method that could circumvent the need for abortions. Therefore, I'm pro-life. Like, find me a single pro-lifer that's not a fucking idiot. So you don't think women have any responsibility for of protecting themselves from getting pregnant if they aren't ready for it? Because most of your argument seems to involve around that. I didn't say any of that, but try to come up with actually a thing I said. I'm saying a lot of things. You can say one thing that I've said.
When someone is pregnant, it's not just their body that needs to be considered. He wonders why a baby outside someone's womb is assumed to have moral worth, but a fetus within apparently has none at all. After all, if somebody shoots a pregnant person, most people would say that's worse than shooting somebody who isn't pregnant. Even the Predator knew that in the documentary Predator 2. So, we think the fetus has value then, but we allow abortions as if it has no value at all?
I don't get it. And I mean I don't get it. It's not I don't get it, I don't agree. I don't get it.
Uncle Denny is pulling a sneaky on you, though. Because somebody could say a fetus has moral worth, maybe even full moral worth, and still think that the bodily autonomy of a pregnant person outweighs it. Just like we could say coming in and shooting Paolo the violinist would be wrong, but still, Tom shouldn't be punished if he escapes. A lot of people worry about the morality of late-term abortions, including many people who are pro-choice, because they think that at some stage it has some moral value, even if bodily autonomy outweighs it every time. Ben thinks that an abortion like 1 day before birth, that's awful, that's killing. But what he misses is that if you go in at 39 weeks pregnant and say, I don't want to be pregnant anymore, they'll probably just induce birth. They'll give you an injection or go into labor.
This is what I mean. Like, politicians, or in this case, bratty Harvard graduates, don't understand that there is something called medicine that is developed without Ben Shapiro's supervision. That there are protocols for what to do. And it doesn't involve this nightmarish scenario that you think the left keeps trying to push, which is we need to murder as many babies as possible. Medicine has already got it. So when people show up and they're like, what about an abortion after birth? There's actually that, remember like a couple months ago or whatever, a bunch of fucking like righties try to like, and successfully duped enough fucking other Trumples and idiots into thinking that, what was it, Florida or something was doing abortions after birth? Like, and people bought it. Like, people are like, oh my god, they're killing babies after they're born? Like, fucking pro-lifers are fucking idiots. They're just reactionary idiots. Find me one that's not an idiot. Find me one. Hello? Republicans are getting to where their worldviews are rooted in common sense, which science shows is often wrong, and values, which they apply unevenly. If you have a worldview that is rooted in fact and expert logic, you're almost certainly a liberal. Yes, this is true. And a lot of people will be stupid enough to think that that means that education has a liberal bias. No, it's the other way around. You get educated, and then you develop the liberal bias. Or I guess you just are inevitably liberal. Because otherwise, you're peddling bullshit and you know it. So good luck doing that and actually respecting yourself at any level. OMG, have you not heard about the 27th trimester abortion that was done in Florida? Are you dumb? Abortion for the whole family? For the whole family! The scientific method is biased toward liberals. Girl who gets pregnant. Mom's gonna kill me. Baby, mom's gonna kill me. Cute abortions for everyone. Cute coat hanger. Buy one, get one free.
And it's very common. 1 in 5 births in the UK are induced, including me.
By the way, you can't even build homes with fireplaces anymore in California.
Is that why you didn't use a real fire for your video, Dennis? The fire never changes. It's the same all the time. It's a gas fire, but he still puts the same log next to it in every shot to make you think that it's wood burning.
I don't get it.
Horrifying aliens who kill men for sport, and the Predator, might find this hard to grasp. But bodily autonomy versus human life is an area where the same person might have conflicting intuitions. One of Thompson's critics was a philosopher named John Finnis, who asked, what if somebody wants to use their bodily autonomy to kill themselves? That's a rough one. Many people feel that suicide can be a legit exercise of bodily autonomy, at least sometimes, because it's your life. If someone is about to do it, shouldn't you try and do something? But on the other hand, maybe it shouldn't be illegal, because we tried that in my country and it sucks. What I think this shows is that even if we agree that fetuses are persons and that killing them is bad, we would then still have to also justify government intervention. So, with the pro-life position that morally a fetus is a human being, that still doesn't actually support criminalizing abortions. My feeling is, it's a shame if the violinist dies, but still, Tom shouldn't be punished for escaping. And just so nobody can accuse me of glossing, I am logically committed to saying that, even if it was a baby and he was responsible for it being sick. To put this whole video in context, imagine a chain, and each link in the chain is like a different position somebody can hold. Some people already believe that life begins at conception. They're the people I'm trying to reach. And what Ben Shapiro does...
Here's the thing, like, his whole analogy depends on this idea that life does... Life is such a silly thing to say, because life, it's... Of course life begins at conception. I mean, the cells are alive cells. There are live cells everywhere. It doesn't mean that, like, life as we know it, like, an individual, a person, someone begins at conception. I think that's what I think they mean by life. This whole discussion, which is interesting, it hinges on the idea that a fetus is necessarily a person, a somebody. At conception, that is a somebody immediately. And now that this is a person, we can move forward and treat and understand the gravity of our decision. I appreciate him getting to the point where we needed to go to the most extreme case to satiate everyone's like, what? They're people. Okay, well, let's say they are people. Let's take that to its logical end and see how we fucking deal with that. I think that's great, but I feel like you can probably I circumvent that entire thought process because it's not a person to me. And science reflects that in ways that we consider a person to be a person, that is not a person. A fetus is not a person until a certain point. And then I think that you can still justify abortion for reasons of, like, what he's discussing, the reasons he's discussing, but that level of, like, sentience, when certain, like, certain connections are made, your brain's develops, or it becomes developed to certain, like, lowest denominator state of existence, where you can actually develop some sense of consciousness and sentience, ability to, like, be aware of your environment, be aware of, like, being alive, etc. At that point, that happens, I think, like, beginning of 3rd trimester, I believe it's, like, the earliest signs are, like, beginning of 3rd trimester, I want to say. Studies have shown, if I'm citing this correctly, I'm probably off by a little bit, but it's much farther along than you would think. So that's how I approach it. I wonder if he's going to talk about it at all. That's why I said that his analogy isn't completely analogous, because fetuses aren't people. Correct, but I think he's trying to say, okay, let's say if you think that they're people, that you still should be pro-choice, you know? I like the video, but the Papegas may miss the point. The idea of taking on a strong version of your opponent's argument is foreign to them. Yeah, they're stupid enough to think that. So you're saying they are people, and so you're saying that whatever he's showing is horrible. I don't want to have that. Don't do anything with abortion. Hey, Canute, why can't we just have the abortion laws that is today? They're perfectly fine if you ask me. Canute, because your abortion laws in Norway are very different than the abortion laws in America. There's like abortion laws in America, which we have Roe v. Wade, which the federal government, I believe, says you're not allowed to prohibit abortions. You can't make abortions illegal, like the activating abortion illegal. So a lot of states are like, okay, we see you doing that, so we're just gonna restrict abortions incredibly. You can still get them, but like only the first 5 minutes of conception, essentially. And we're gonna make facilities incredibly hard to get to. Like you have to drive 3 hours or go to another state to get an abortion. And then when you're going in, you're gonna get harassed by a mob of people screaming at you that you're like killing babies. It's like a whole ordeal in some places in the country. In Norway, I'm sure it's much better. So you're saying different countries have different laws? This is why I have 3 kids right now. Might be overturned with old Kavanaugh. Fucking Kavanaugh is a fool. Okay, so may I ask you this? Do you think abortion would be okay to use as a birth control instead of trying to prevent getting pregnant in the first place? These questions are so fucking dumb, man. Do you know what an abortion entails? It's not a pleasant experience, to say the very least. So the idea that somebody would happily go for serial abortions is like you don't know what you're talking about. This is the 3rd bad question from you that shows you have no idea what abortion actually is. You think they're like a fucking like a hall pass to get out of fucking like get out of jail free card or something. Like they're actually very invasive, very fucking uncomfortable, very traumatic experiences for women. Not to mention inconvenience. If we're just gonna be, but put aside the fucking actual discomfort and everything, inconvenient to say the very least. So the idea that a person's gonna make a doctor's appointment to get an abortion regularly as a form of birth control because they just don't choose to try to not get pregnant, it shows so unbelievably you're disconnected from this entire conversation. I do know someone who had 3 abortions. Well, in that case, they're fun to get. It isn't, damn, I was planning a fun abortion road trip next week. Lorelai! I blend my insides for fun. I feel like, do you have a vagina, perchance? Do you have a vagina? I wonder if you've ever had like a biopsy of your uterus or anything's ever inserted through your cervix into your uterus. It's an incredibly fucking bad experience. It's a fucking I've had it a couple times because I've had an IUD inserted. It's really traumatic. So the idea that someone's gonna like have some fucking huge equipment like fucking shoved up there and like no. This is not a thing that people are excited to do and think of as a very viable alternative. And if they do, it's like 2 people in the history of ever. So that. And I have to say, who cares if people are getting abortions? Let's just put this all aside. Let's say somebody is getting a few abortions. It's still a fucking clump of cells. Fuck off. I'm so sick of this conversation. Women can get depressed by having an abortion and by giving birth. So why bring this up? My friend, this is anecdotal as fuck. My friend had an abortion. She's a very liberal person, but it really traumatized her. It was so different. She was very depressed afterwards. She said, like, they don't tell you things like when you get pregnant, you start making, like, hormones to support this baby. And so, like, she was already, like, bonding with this idea of this fetus. And, like, it was this whole thing. Like, her body was, like, feeling pregnant, and then she went and got the abortion. It was like this, it took a while for the hormones to get out of her system. And that's not even mentioning of the actual procedure. It's a very unpleasant, very traumatic experience. So the idea that people are just getting nonstop abortions because they just don't want to go on the pill. Like, fuck off with that fucking garbage. Fuck off with your obviously stupid takes that are trying to appeal to people that are ready to stupid like you. In order to thwart any sort of like progress in this conversation. Like, fuck off. Furthermore, the law gives women the right to self-determine abortion if the procedure can take place before the end of the 12th week of pregnancy, and weighty medical reasons do not speak against it. In some cases, the law for abortion opens after the 12th week of pregnancy, while there must be particularly weighty reasons for abortion after the end of 18 weeks of pregnancy. If one believes that the fetus is viable, abortion permission cannot be granted. Oh, interesting. Is that in Norway? Where the law states that society, as far as advice, is to ensure all children conditions for a safe upbringing, and that as part of this work, society must ensure that everyone receives ethical guidance, sexual education, knowledge about cohabitation issues, and offers for family planning. And in order to create a responsible attitude to these issues, so that the number of abortions is as low as possible. Furthermore, the law gives women the right to self-determine abortion. The procedure can take place. So we read the rest of that already, yeah. Got cancer? No removing the tumor. It's alive. It's a clump of fucking cells, and people are like, it's just such a stupid fucking conversation. I do. Those are children that won't even see the literal light of day. Clumps of cells are children. Okay. I don't think you know what a child is. Again, Pepega take from the pro-lifer. It's just nonstop. Thinking a fucking clump of cells as a child. You know what child doesn't see the light of day, according to you? A viable fucking embryo. When that child's in the mommy's belly, he can't even see the light of day. Do you think about that? Depriving the light of day from a baby, a child, a person, an adult, let's just go there, a grown-up, for 9 months? Wow. Forced nakedness and no light. This sounds like fucking prison. Excuse me. It's just a clump of cells. Holy fuck the indignity. Science doesn't help us understand shit about the value of life, only view it through a narrow and cold lens of materialism and nihilism. Whereas you masturbate, every time you masturbate, you cry in your pillow.
Holmes.
These are
How
people.
long were you in the pen essay? For murder. Did you have to cut a bitch? Did you have a prison wife? You are my hero.
How was I long in the pen essay for murder? Let's just put it this way. They don't know I'm out. Did you have to cut a bitch? Yes. Do you have a prison wife? Yes. Hope that helps. Thank you, Headless, for the $2. I hope you never get children. Well, that's the goal. Get children like at Walmart? Yeah, apparently. I never get children. You're acting like we're talking about sentient life. Oh yeah, by the way, 100% of pro-lifers eat meat. But think about that. Clump of cells is incredibly valuable to them. Living, breathing, feeling animal that suffers and screams.